You wake up, grab your phone, and immediately queue up a high-energy playlist or a motivational video. You're trying to manufacture a feeling of readiness before you sit down to do the work. But a few hours later, that manufactured energy evaporates. The screen goes blank, the playlist ends, and you're staring at your desk, burned out by noon without completing a single meaningful task. This morning routine is a psychological trap. It tricks your brain into feeling a sense of accomplishment, rewarding you before any actual execution begins. On one side, the emotionally volatile motivation junkie relies on constant stimulation to do the bare minimum. On the other side is the calm, indifferent, and unstoppable machine, typing away in a highly structured environment. Long-term progress requires abandoning the search for fleeting inspiration. It demands a shift to the architecture of cold execution, a mechanical framework that forces action even when internal motivation is absent. Step 1 is eliminating the false start. Identify your primary morning hype habit, whether that's a curated playlist or even a podcast or a motivational speech, and delete it from your routine immediately. This chart maps your morning routine's chemical cost. That bright red line shooting up represents the artificial dopamine spike. An unearned chemical rush tricks your brain into feeling successful without requiring you to produce any actual results. There is a biological tax for that early spike. The line inevitably plummets sharply below your baseline into a midday crash. You have traded your capacity to focus for a 5-minute chemical high. Now look at the flat, steady blue line. This represents cold execution. It bypasses the spike entirely, maintaining a perfectly consistent, emotionless trajectory of output through the entire day. Relying on a temporary rush sacrifices your body's ability to adapt to hard work. Trading a sustainable baseline for a quick jolt of excitement is a physiological dead end that destroys your discipline. Once the stimulants are gone, you have to protect your cognitive energy. Every minor decision you make upon waking, what to wear, what to read, what tab to open, drains the exact mental bandwidth required for deep, complex work. We solve this by implementing a zero-friction start. This is a pre-programmed physical sequence built the night before that requires zero active choices or willpower in the morning. Write down your choice-free sequence for tomorrow. Lay your clothes out, clear your workspace, and put your phone in a drawer. There is one strict technical requirement here. Leave only a single, highly relevant task open on your workstation. If you leave multiple tabs or apps open, you invite task switching, which introduces friction back into the system. When you wake up, you just run the predefined script. Your physical movements lock into place and turn smoothly, initiating action before your brain can generate internal dialogue or excuses. By removing the choice to participate, you preserve your mental bandwidth for the actual high-level execution waiting on your screen. Now we have to address the actual work. Waiting to feel rested, inspired, or in the flow before you begin a difficult task creates a fragile framework prone to failure. Tomorrow morning, sit down and begin your first task for exactly 5 minutes. Your goal is to detach your physical movements from your internal mood. Type the words or write the code, regardless of how you feel about the task. This diagram shows how true discipline functions. On the left, motivation drains to 0%, but on the right, the execution gear system spins continuously, unaffected by the battery level. Discipline is a survival mechanism that operates independently of your mood. You will likely experience an empty or emotionless feeling while working this way. This is not a sign of failure. That silence in your head is a symptom of peak efficiency. The differentiator of a top performer is the ability to mechanically move their hands when their brain protests. It is the process of outworking your own emotions. Your directive is to commit to this mechanical sequence every single day for the next week. This strict repetition triggers physiological adaptation. Your brain only adapts to hard work when it is forced to operate without motivational stimulants. Continuing to work through the midday crash forces your brain to recalibrate. It teaches your system to prioritize the mechanical sequence, even when the emotional drive has stalled. Over time, performing these mundane, repetitive actions generates a relentless compounding effect. The conditions outside your mind can shift violently, but your interior work environment remains entirely static and undisturbed. Maintaining an unbreakable daily baseline turns mundane, repetitive actions into a mathematically consistent stream of output. The process requires cutting the fake dopamine spike, building the zero-friction start, and executing at 0% motivation. This shift transforms you from a consumer of motivation into a producer who delivers consistent output every day, regardless of your internal dialogue. Your final directive is to physically prep your clothes and workspace tonight and execute entirely without inspiration tomorrow morning. Stop waiting for the spark that never lasts. Disconnect from the hype, build your system,